Hello, everyone, and today you join me with this open dialogue conversation podcast style video that I am doing with Dan. So I've got Dan on the other line.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. The sun is shining. Can't complain. Summer has finally hit.
Yes, I'm definitely enjoying this good weather up in spring, aren't we? So again, what we've got Dan on the call today is because he's another automotive creator and interested
That
in
is me.
cars, and I thought it'd be great just to have a bit of a dialogue, chinwag, and see what's going on in all things Dan. So, Dan, do you want to tell some of the viewers a little bit about your background and what got you into cars?
So my background, obviously, if people would, check out my channels, I have been uploading for quite some time now. Now, what really got me into cars is a couple of things. One is a big step was my father. He used to be a mechanic for many, many years, and some of the cars that he used to drive, it was just unbelievable what he used to do with cars. Stupid things which putting a Austin Maxi engine in a Mini,
Mm.
it's that sort of thing, and it sort of really sparked my interest with cars and sort of not just messing around but maintaining and just sort of really opened my eyes. Another thing was one of my best mates when we were younger, heavily into the Fast and Furious movies. As you do, I've
Yeah.
always looked at those sort of cars. Now I'm not really a boy racer myself, but I love those. I just love, modifying cars. I love the shapes of them. I really truly fell in love, a lot with these kind of movies, and I never looked back since.
Yeah, I love it. The Fast and Furious franchise is something that I've actually been rewatching over the last couple of weeks.
I've, I think I've watched each episode about 10 times each,
Yeah,
each movie.
that Fast X popped up on Netflix, and I thought, do you know
I
what?
know.
I'm going to rewatch. I actually started at number three onwards. I have the DVDs from like one till eight, so
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to like kind of rewatch some of them,
Oh, I know.
and
Yeah.
it's quite fun taking it back to like before all the CGI
I
explosions and
know.
things,
Yeah.
and
It
now
was. I truly believe that the first, I say, first to fourth one is truly where it's all sits because they are it's no CGI explosions. There's no
mhm.
driving while on fire, going through the middle of Italy. It's it's
Yeah.
it's true car experience, which is what I love.
No, I love it as well. And I think they choose quite a good variety of
Yeah,
vehicles. What I don't get is the Dodge Charger connection. I get the classic Dodge Charger, but
yeah.
when you watch like, is it what's the one that in Rio de Janeiro and they like the rob? Is that
Oh,
four or five? They steal the
it is.
vaults, and I'm sitting when I watched it like last weekend, I was like, that's a rear wheel drive muscle car pulling the vaults across. And then there's other ones that I think Dodge Chargers like they get shot by helicopters and stuff. I think in is it the sixth one? It's
Yeah.
usually Dom or whatever's driving the latest version of it. The one with the airplane. Remember they're shooting the airplane wings down,
Yeah,
and it's the
indeed. Yeah.
Chargers. And I'm thinking, I know it's product placement, but I do not think they're probably the best car for the job. To me, it'd be like something with four wheel drive, probably,
No,
versus that.
exactly. It's definitely not the best car to be pulling a plane down to the ground. And I
Yeah,
know with Fast and Furious they did have a big sponsorship with Dodge, where that's why they were mainly in the movies. Which I watched a guy on YouTube, Craig Lieberman, who designed all the old cars.
okay,
He used to modify, especially for the first sort of like first four. He was sort of around designing the cars, and some of the cars are actually his. Some of them
right,
he
okay,
actually owned himself, like um, Brian O'Connor's Skyline, the Supra from number one, the Evo. A lot of the cars from the first one were his. But I know that's the only influence around Dodge. I think if they didn't, I think they used something else other than
yeah.
Dodge.
I'm trying to think at the top of my head what the other scene was, but there was something with the Dodge Charger was just like beating everything, and I'm thinking, do you know, like out of all the cars in the world, I do not think
I know.
it's the most muscly car one, but
No,
it's the muscle car is the best choice, but
yeah,
it is what it is. But no, Fast and Furious is a good point. We're talking. We're going to
it's.
get this is going to be a Fast and Furious podcast very quickly. um,
I
yeah, we
know,
can
but
maybe recap that another time, I guess. What I want to chat about is like really what's your memorable cars in your history. I know you're saying you've been driving a while and you've got kind of
yeah.
a
So
couple of
I
cars.
honestly, I've not been driving too long. I'm 26. I've only been driving since I was about 21. I never really passed my test too young. I had other things going on, which is a more personal thing. But um, I learned to drive in an Astra, a 2006 Vauxhall Astra H,
Okay.
which the day I sold it, it was completely, it had its bits and but it was only £600. The day that I sold it, the guy who bought it off me, it was completely sound, no troubles with it. Suffered a massive oil leak on the side of the road, had to ditch it. That was my first car.
Okay.
So I escaped that sort of breakdown, car messing up quite early. Then went on to a BMW E46 saloon, not the coupe. It was like a
Okay.
318, and again, one of the best, a really fantastic car. The day after I sold that, the guy suffered another oil leak,
Not
and the
having
car.
much luck there.
Well, no, I escaped him completely fine. And then 6 months after passing my test, I went on to a 2010 Audi S5 V8. So 6 months after I passed my test, I had a 4.2 V8, liter V8.
Hmm.
It was incredible. It just felt, it was so smooth on the road. And then in the mix of that, I bought a car that I'm sort of driving now, which is a Nissan Stagea, which is a Japanese imported wagon,
Yes, very
which
cool.
I honestly I love and hate at the same time.
I'll tell you what, if we've got photos of it, I'll put it up for this
Yeah,
video so the audience can see what you're talking about for people unfamiliar.
yeah, because
So,
it's
yeah, and your S5, do you still have that, or is that
I
something?
don't, unfortunately. I gave that back. I made the stupid decision of choosing a finance, which I know obviously there's loads in the news lately with financing cars. Um, I decided to give that back because it just becomes so unaffordable. Which you can imagine, the petrol bills were very, very high.
Hmm.
So
What kind of MPG were you getting for that?
17.
17. Yeah. It takes me back. I was going to say I had an SC430 during
Oh wow.
COVID times, which was a great car, but it's like you, it was getting like maybe 16, 17 around
Yeah,
town.
it's
And when the fuel was hitting like £2 a litre, remember, like, it was a couple of years ago?
yeah.
I was like, it cost me, let's say, £5 to go to the gym, and I was like, oh, it's
Wow.
starting to get expensive here. So,
Very,
um,
very expensive, especially with petrol prices nowadays.
yeah,
It was so difficult to run, but it was the fastest and best car I've driven in a very long time.
no, fantastic. So, is the stage your current main car, or have you
It
got?
is.
Yeah, yes.
So I've got. I used to have a 2001 one, which was a red one, but now I own a 1997. So it's a bit older, but it's a turbo and it's fantastic when it wants to work. Because with the inevitable with a lot of Japanese stuff, it has a misfire, which you cannot find, which is why I love and hate it at the same time.
Okay.
Um, I've also got a E46 318 compact, which is what I'm turning into a race car. So I don't really drive that, but I'm in a mix of converting it into
Now,
a.
is that an early one, or is that one of the later ones? Because I know the headlights kind of changed on them, didn't it?
They did. So it's a 2003. So it is a bit of a later one. I know they obviously had the E36 and the E46. So it is a bit of a later one. So it's still got the typical um, circular headlights, which is
Hmm.
when you look at it, it's actually like split. Usually the headlights all within one.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, that's a beautiful car to drive as well.
Oh, great. And is there any cars that you think you've got your eye on, or if you were to replace one of them with something?
It's a bit of a difficult choice now. Um, Me and a good friend of mine, we've just started a new channel called Toro Works, and we've got our eyes on an E46 estate. There's a popular pattern here with
I
E46s.
was going to say, both coming up.
We're looking at an estate which we're going to work on together. It may turn into one of our a sort of car I drive daily, just as a bit of a club sort of car, which I'm really, hopefully, fingers crossed, if we get it, really looking forward to. But yeah, that's the one I'm sort of got my eyes on.
I was going to say, that takes me back. I think, was there not an old Top Gear episode that took the E46, the endurance racing, where they not, remember it was like a black one that had the
Yes.
spoiler, was it a
Oh, that was
330D or something? Like shit, I can't
yeah, that was
remember.
the touring race, which had a load of sponsors. And when you opened the door, it said some
Yeah, it said
words.
something rude. Yeah, I remember
Do you
that.
know what? That was an incredible episode, and that's the sort of thing. Not obviously touring car championships and all that, but sort of racing with E46 is very popular. and it's what I really want to do. And and another thing that sort of inspired me to get on cars actually is Top Gear. Watching it as at a young age and seeing what people do, and people expressing their love to cars. That's sort of what truly also got me onto my interest in cars as well.
Yeah, I'm probably the same as you. Like probably growing up with those three through the 2000s is
I know
probably
it's a childhood that I'm glad I went through. It's having that, being able to sort of watch it and experience their true love of cars. It was just amazing,
yeah. And it's
absolutely
probably,
amazing.
and I don't know if it's our age or just because we grew up with that, but I kind of feel like that 2000s era was like peak
Yeah,
automobiles. You know, when you had like
yeah.
your V10 M5s and the
Oh,
Carrera GT and Ford GTs and
I know. It's
all
that
that kind of
V10
stuff.
M5. Oh my god!
Like that,
Please,
yeah. Like
guide
I
us.
just felt, you kind of felt like I always thought like when I was growing up, like went from the V8 to the V10, and then the M3 got a V8. So I thought,
Yeah.
well, the next M5 must have like a V12, and I worked its way up. Do you know?
Yeah, you just thought they've
Even
worked their way up the
yeah,
ranks.
just way up to like a V16, V20 by now, whatever it may be. But it's quite funny that
I know, but
it,
it's
yeah,
that
so,
the BMW and their V10s it just sounds so beautiful, and weirdly performs really well, and is well manufactured. It just sounds so amazing.
I know it's just too good, too much of a good thing. I think back then wasn't it? And then now we're like
I know,
A V10 like estate or any of these BMWs would just be fantastic
I
to see
know,
that today's age.
exactly.
Oh, but yeah, that's been quite cool. So you're probably in the news topic we'll cover now is we're just discussing just off camera before this was the state of Nissan. We just seen yesterday that they're kind of in a bit of a decline. They've
I
had like a bit of
know.
an
I
of
know, and for such a well stated manufacturer of automotive cars, I would not have expected it, but with
no, like I feel like they're in a similar situation to like maybe Saab or Rover were over
I
the
know,
last.
I know,
Whereas obviously Nissan's a little bit more global, but you think even if the Fast and Furious Skyline kind of carrying the weight of that, or
exactly.
the Leaf pushing the EV movement, or the Duke pushing the kind of small
I
crossover
know,
movement,
yeah, because
they have had some hits.
I know it's like you said before we did all this, and the success they've had with the Duke. I know obviously it's not car people's top car of the world,
Yeah,
uh, and the Leaf, and all these different cars you wouldn't have
yeah.
expected. And as I mentioned, obviously again before this, obviously with the Sentra, which is massive in America, and they've happened to move it from Mexico to the US, but they're very much considering it because of the tariffs. And I think it's the tariffs is where it's killing them off because of such these high tariffs,
In one
hybrid.
market, but I don't think they're doing
Yeah,
too well even in Europe.
I
Do you
know,
know,
I
like
know.
even here. But
It will be very sad to see if Nissan did go because even in their early stages of Datsun, they were doing really well.
no, they were. I remember hearing stories about the Datsun era. Obviously, it's before our time, but yeah, it's crazy to see them kind of going
I
on the
know.
decline. We may as well ask: is there anything you think you would have done maybe in the last 5 years? Anything you would do now if you were steering the ship at Nissan?
Yeah, I mean, I know obviously they're big with the electric car movement nowadays,
Yeah,
but I think they've sort of planted themselves too much. Now I know obviously a lot of manufacturers are turning over to EV, but some of them still produce petrol diesel engines, or even sort of hybrids. But I think going straight into the EV market and the high demand of EV, technology nowadays, I think that I would have sort of steered away from it. Only a slight bit less. But obviously, I know with Nissan still selling across the world, it's hard to
well, yeah,
sort
I
of
was going to say like all the pickup trucks is at the Frontier they sell in
yeah.
America, and I don't know if they sell like a patrol armada things. I know they sell their the Armada it's called in North America. I'm trying to remember the big massive 7 seat
Oh God,
thing that
yes,
they've just launched that like this year with the
yeah,
Infinity tie-in, and then
yeah.
obviously in the Middle East some of their patrols and these other things are popular, which are not
I
EV.
know, I know.
Uh,
It's so but the rest of the world, obviously, again with new cash cars going full EV and other going, instead of having sort of a hybrid engine, they're going straight to EV. I think with the high demand of it and how people, other manufacturers may be struggling to get the EV technology. It's just a bit. I think they would have stayed away a little bit further
Yeah,
away.
or I agree, or maybe even offering like the Micra was discontinued a couple of years ago,
I
wasn't
know,
it?
I know,
And you think something like that just to keep the ball rolling, an
yeah,
affordable
exactly,
like 1 litre, 1.2 petrol,
exactly. It would have.
something just for people to get about and it's not super expensive
I
would
know.
be.
I think the relaunch of the Michael, if they ever did consider it, would be so huge because not many people know it. There's a huge sort of market for the Michaels because they're just small little lovely cars.
Now,
I,
just when you're talking about the Micra, what do you think if they relaunch something like a Figaro or the POW or the Escargot? Remember those cars that were all
yeah,
based off the Micra from the 90s? Like a modern version, either them Mark II or they
yeah,
came up with something that's like that unusual concept, but just something totally new and radical.
yeah.
Because people forget, like those Figaros I see on the road, and they are still like well looked after.
I know. I
So,
There's actually a lady down the road who has one and daily drives it.
fantastic.
It's the car she's been driving daily and she loves it. And I think if they ever sort of relaunched them, I reckon if they steered away what Ford did with the Capri and what they are speculating with a new Escort is they're going full EV. Now, if they steered away from that and continue with
Hmm.
like a petrol engine to truly bring it back that feel, I think that's where they would exceed.
Yes, I think because that was such a iconic.
I
So
know,
people still look after and cherish those little Figaros.
I
Less
know.
so
They
the POW. I don't see too many of
No,
them.
you don't see too many of them, but
And
yeah.
escargots. I don't know the last time you've seen one, but I've not seen one in a long time. Uh,
I know.
but
I've not seen a very long time.
yeah, but that platform sharing to give you something that's a little bit more funky would be
Exactly.
eye catching. And I also think they missed a trick not bringing the Nissan Z back to Europe, or if not at least the UK.
Yeah,
After the 370Z disappeared, I don't know, was it 2022, 2023? I think it
yeah.
launched again in America.
It did. I think
And
they restricting that sort of vehicle purely to the US was another mistake because again, there's such a fan base for the new Z's they brought out. Sticking them just in America, it just didn't work because then you've got if someone really wanted one over here in the UK, you'd have to go out and buy one, then import it, which is going to cost you a
yes,
lot more. Which
well, I did see that one on Auto Trader. I think it was the Birmingham area. It was like 50, it was either 52 or £55,000 for a
yeah,
2023, and it was white.
like typical
Uh,
in Birmingham.
yeah, but and it was imported, and I was like, well, at least somebody's brought one across, I guess.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
So,
at least someone has done it, and But
uh,
if they'd have released like they Ford did with the Mustang 8, a while back now, if they truly brought it over here, it would exceed. It would go really well, I think.
yeah, I think that and some of the other American stuff, like even having, I don't know how well it would do because the Ford Ranger does quite well here,
Oh, it does
but
it immense. I mean, a Ford Ranger is if I had to have an everyday car going to and from work or taking people out, I think a Ford Ranger would really, really be one I'd get.
yeah, but they could bring over. I think the Frontier
Yeah.
is the one that's that kind of size. That's another option, isn't it? So,
Oh, exactly. They've got loads of options, and I think,
and then even the Skyline. I know you mentioned the Stagea
oh
as well,
yeah,
but they left that like was it 2008 or 9 that came out or 7 maybe. I remember that on Old Top Gear as well with the nitrogen
yeah,
tires, and then
yeah.
it just kind
It's
of sat and yeah, in the fast world, it just never really changed
exactly. I
much.
think 2006, 2007 was the end of the R34s, and then obviously then after that, moving on to about 2011, 2012 is when the R35 was released, and it was just a complete different car. It was like say for example Triumph many years ago they went from a TR6 a beautiful car to then a TR7 which I have driven and it is one of the worst cars I've ever driven in life and it just looked completely different. It performed differently and it's an example of what Nissan did. They went from a sporty little two-door to this almost supercar and I think that sort of jump, it was a good car, the R35. Don't get it wrong. It is one I've driven one and again one of some of the best cars I've ever driven. But that sort of styling didn't just sort of bode well. I don't think really.
Yeah, it's a little bit chunky for our roads as well,
Exactly.
isn't it? It's quite
Exactly.
large. But, I always remember, I think Amy McDonald had one. I vaguely remember an old Top Gear interview.
Yeah.
That all this memories are flashing back when you're talking about that car, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, I think she might have had one. But yeah,
For me, it's the Top Gear episode of in Japan as well, going from uh, I forgot the that beach to the was it where was the destination now? Was it the memorial?
yeah, I was going to
It's
say, I think the
some
Memorial, yeah.
memorial, and then they obviously Hammond and May were on the bullet train, which again was a truly truly good episode.
No, that's fantastic. I think we should do a whole separate video on Top Gear.
And do you know what? I'd love to just just sitting here talking about cars. I love it. I absolutely it's an enjoyable thing that I like to do, whether it's some about a car that I hate or a car that I like. It's doing this sort of thing is very it makes my day. And
I know it's great, and hopefully the people listening are enjoying it as much as we're enjoying the chat.
as much as I am probably just waffling on along,
It's all
but
right. It's all right.
yeah. But I mean, even just working on cars, whether it's a car that is, not playing ball or whether, it's just a simple fix, I just love doing it. It's truly where I stand really with cars. I just absolutely love it.
And have you got any plans for the weekend that you're doing from with your cars? Are you doing any more filming?
So I have, as mentioned, we've got a new channel called Towerworks, and I've got to introduce myself on there with my car. We've already got one video up with the person I'm doing it called Ollie. He's got a Volkswagen up, and then this weekend I'm actually going over to Isle of Wight as it is the Isle of Wight takeover, which is the first time ever going, and I'm really looking forward to it. Whether the car makes it there, I don't know, but
Fingers are crossed.
fingers are truly crossed
How far
because
a drive is that for you?
it is for me. It's about 130 miles.
Okay.
I'm staying down there sort of like Friday night, so I'd have to wake up too early for the ferry on Saturday. But
Hmm.
having that sort of time to just sort of I could be able to start up and things. But I've got that this weekend, and then it's the MOT for the car. Whether it again passes that or not, I don't know. But then there are some big planks for the car, a complete new color change, and just an overhaul on the engine, and also a lot of body repairs and body work as well. As there's quite a lot to do, but all that will be on my channel over the sort of year, along with editing videos of my race car when we prep that as well.
And is that going to be on the main channel or the secondary channel? Just so
It'll
the followers
be
can follow you there.
so the way we're planning it is that the sort of videos where they're going to be on the main channel called Towerworks, and then any sort of behind the scenes or sort of like more relaxing content will be on my Motorero channel, which is another channel that I have, which it's the main one I used to sort of started on, but obviously now I'm moving over to this sort of main channel, which I'm really looking forward to it. We've got
Oh,
some big
great.
plans.
I'll leave all that information in the description below just so anybody who wants to
And thank you very much.
find where you are and want to see behind the scenes, they've got one option. Make sure you can go and check that out. Well, I just want
Yeah.
to say, Dan, thank you so much
No,
for your
no. Thank you.
time.
'Cause I've really
It's been,
enjoyed this evening.
it's been great to have you on. And guys, if you've really enjoyed today, give us both some love and comment below what your thoughts are, and we can get this arranged again for the future.
Most definitely.
So make sure to go and follow Dan on the social media platforms. And thank you so much for having you
No,
on
no,
today and
no.
coming on.
Thank you ever so much. It's been a really good evening. And yeah, hopefully we can get some more in because, again, love talking about cars.
It's fantastic. I love it as well. You would
It
definitely
is.
get it done.